Hello everybody and welcome back to the workshop renovation series. This is a very special episode because we have electricity. Let's get going. So we've got a fun one today. I'm going to be finishing off bolting the mezzanine floor in place because I now have the bolts for it. I need to refinish my workbench because it was an absolute state before, so I sanded it all off. And then I found out that it was going to be taken to an I volunteered to get it taken to an exhibition called Decorex. So it's going to be picked up later today, so I need to make sure it's got a finish on it ready for that. And then I also went to the builder's merchant and I've got all the sheet goods to fill out my backdrop. Now, a lot of you said don't use OSB for the backdrop because you felt it was too visually noisy. Oh God. I do agree with you. It's a little bit too much sometimes. It's difficult to kind of divide myself from the background. I do have some ideas for it. I'd love to hear some more of your suggestions as well. Two of my ideas are wallpapering it with a nice floral pattern. I've seen it done with Lee Nielsen backdrops before and it looks awesome. It's actually where these two glass cabinets came from. They came from a Lee Nielsen display, funnily enough. And the other option I thought of was horizontal reclaimed wood painted various colors of like grays, maybe like navy blues and things like that. Something quite dark and moody. Well, I don't know, maybe I could do something. I'm throwing ideas around, so I'd love to hear your input on it. But for the time being, because I don't have anything lined up ready to go, we're going for the OSB and it's something that I'll fix later on. I have been listening to you. Thank you for that. So I guess firstly, let's get this bolted in place. Right, that's all bolted in place now. I stupidly didn't even measure where to put the bolts, so they're looking pretty I'm not even going to show you a close-up. It looks awful how off-center and like out of line they are, but functionally they work fine. We're not looking for the most aesthetic oh God, it is, oh dear. So now with the mezzanine floor done, we can start looking at doing the backdrop at last. Now, as a lot of you know, Bosch are a sponsor of this channel quite often. They help me out with a lot of tools and it helps because I actually really like their tools. So I got in contact with them and I said that I was doing the workshop renovation and I would be needing a track saw. Now, originally, I was looking at getting the Faithfull track saw, the TS55, which is kind of the, I guess it's the go-to track saw with a lot of things. And it was sort of a thing that I was starting to get sucked into as well from working at Axminster. Customers were always buying it. It's that Faithfull brand loyalties. Once you buy one of them, people just keep buying it from there because they recognize they're so good. Now, I kind of got sucked into this a bit, I suppose. Also at Rykertwood, we had the Faithfull track saw there as well, and I really liked it. It's a really good saw, you can't deny it. It does exactly what it says on the tin and is really nice to use as well. The one issue I've had with it, and it's a really annoying one because it tends to trip me up quite a lot, is the fact that the guide rail is 1.4 meters long. A sheet of MDF, plywood, OSB, man-made boards, those are 1.2 meters wide. Now, it's all very well saying, yep, the Faithfull track is 1.4, the sheet is 1.2, that gives you enough cutting capacity. But what it does is it only leaves you with 100 millimeters of that rail overhanging of the sheet, which has always caused a little bit of like uncertainty as you're either plunging into the cut to start with or you're coming off the end because there's never really enough track there to support the full length of the saw. So at Rykertwood, this wasn't much of an issue, to be honest, because we had a giant panel saw to cut it all up. But at Axminster, where we had to break down sheet goods with our Faithfull track saw, always found it to be an issue. It made things a little bit more challenging. So the Bosch one, looked into it, it's got brilliant reviews. The rail on it is 1.6 meters long, which means I'm going to be getting 200 millimeters of extra rail either side of the sheet material, which means that it should stay nice and stable on there. So we're going to do a quick unboxing video and see some of the bits we've got. And then later on, after months and months of use and cutting things up, because I'm not using a table saw in this workshop, all of my table saw duties are going to be done with this thing. So I should be able to provide you a pretty comprehensive overview and review once I've had that use from it. Okay, that'll be our two 1.6 meter rails, and they also include a bag. which is very nice. Okay, that's awesome. We've got a router base for the rail, so I can now fit the router to the rail, which will be very handy. And this, I believe, is another rail. There you go, nice little 600mm rail, which will be awesome for my smaller components if I'm doing cabinetry and things. Sometimes the larger rails can be a little bit too cumbersome for stuff like this. Nice little bag in that one. And then we've got the track saw itself. Lovely. The other thing that was sometimes an issue with the Faithfull track saw, when I used it, but just kind of got used to, was when joining two of the rails, sometimes it produced like horrible steps and things there, and it didn't always align to be a perfectly straight line. It sometimes like kinked the two rails off. So, like I say, I haven't used this Bosch one before, but from what I've heard, and judging by the size of this aligner bar on it, this shouldn't be an issue. The Faithfull one is only about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch wide at most, maybe not even that. It's just two little bars that go in there. It just doesn't seem to be substantial enough, but this seems to be pretty robust. So we've got some oval shaped bolts here that cause the edge of this to sort of compress against the inside of the rail. And yeah, they seem to be really snug. See, again, when you tighten down the Faithfull ones, they just tighten these screws directly into the rail, and it starts like, they're grub screws, so they're going to start damaging the rail below and all that, whereas this, it's got a nice protective cover that's preventing it from damaging that rail. Yeah, like there's no way, absolutely no way that's going to start doing this. There's so much location there. And the nice thing as well about this is that it's close to the cutting edge as well. Because again, previous experience has said that this bit here starts twisting and you start getting steps. So as you're tracking the saw over it like this, you kind of hit the step and you've got to like jump it over it, and then you get a weird step in your work. So yeah, this is what I heard great reviews about. The guide rail system is much better compared to the Faithfulls. And I mean, to be honest, yeah, from first impressions, I thoroughly agree as well. Let's see how it works. So as for this backdrop, these are the sheets that need to fit under here. So obviously we need to take the tops of them off. So we're going to lay out a sacrificial base on the floor so that I can cut into it with the track saw. Now, which way do I want to go with this? So if you haven't used the track saw before, what you have on the edge here is like this rubbery material. And when I do the first plunge with the plunge saw, what it's going to do is actually cut through some of that rubbery material. And that is the splinter guard. Because the saw blade is coming up like this, the saw blade cuts directly through it, and then the remaining material left over at the end is right up against the edge of the blade. That supports the material as the blade is coming up like this and prevents it from chipping. So with this first cut, I've got my lines, I've got one here and I've got one here. If I put it directly on that line and do my first cut with this guide rail, lining up the edge of it with those lines, I haven't taken into account the fact that the saw blade is going to remove some of that splinter strip. Therefore, this panel is going to be undersized. So what I'm going to do is go about 10mm beyond those lines to start with. We'll do our first cut, and then the splinter strip will be broken in by that point, and then I'll be able to make a more accurate judgment on it from there. Right, there we go. See how much of this splinter strip's been cut into there? If I put that right on the line, it wouldn't have been accurate for this first cut. Now I know that as soon as I line this up with whatever lines I draw, that is where the saw blade is going to end. A lot of people bring these back to Axminster thinking, oh no, my splinter strip's been ruined, my whole guide rail needs to be replaced because the saw cut into it. Nope, it's meant to happen and it's a good thing. There we go. We'll remove that material and then we'll line up the track saw with that new cut splinter strip with the two lines that I wanted to cut to. You'll see that I've got more of the track overhanging here than I do at the end, and that's to give myself more of an entry point. So you see it's pretty much the perfect length as the saw itself, and then when you get to the end, because the blade's cutting close to the front of the machine, you don't need as much run out on the other end. Now, this is what you have to do with the Faithfull one, but to quite an extremity. By the time you've got enough at the end here, there's like barely anything at the end there, and even this end, there's not usually enough. there we go. Most of the set is up. So we got partition there for the lathe. The backdrop, I've taken one of them out, which I will talk about in a second. And I've got the OSB sheet behind here as well to kind of finish off that corner quite nicely. So why have I taken this sheet out? It's because I have these plugs behind here. Now, I was kind of debating how to do this, whether to just snip the OSB off here, so then this whole bottom half would be exposed. There's obviously going to be the sharpening station here anyway, so you're not really going to see it. But instead, what I think I'm going to do is simply cut the OSB up like this. I would cut around the socket and make a perfect fit, but because this is flush with the studs behind, it would mean that the OSB sticks out beyond that, and then the plug that comes out the bottom here wouldn't be able to make that bend on top of the OSB. So I need clearance below. I might clad the wall behind just to hide it, but yeah, we're going to do some sort of like upwards cutout like this. Right, I'll use the shorter rail to do this, so I just need to trim that splinter strip real quick. Okay, and then here I'm going to fit the anti-kickback thingamajig just behind the saw, which clamps straight onto the rail. And that means that when I do this plunge cut, the saw can't go back any further and run to the other side of the workshop. So because it's difficult to judge how far back you need to set this stop, I can now look at this and say, right, I need to move that back about an inch or 25 mil, whatever you want to call it. And I'll do exactly the same on this line here. There you go. Nothing pretty, but it works. Right, there we go. Looks as empty and boring as my first set. Do you remember that? How many of you were around at that time? So, set is built. Need to sand down the workbench now because I have roughly 1 hour before it's due to be picked up, and it needs to be refinished as well, so I best get moving. So while I still have the workbench here, I need to start working out the spacing of my set and how far the glass cabinets are from the peripheral vision of the lens, is what I'm going to call it, the outsides of the shot that you can currently see. Because it took meticulous spacing last time, and I actually had marks on the floor telling me exactly where to put that tripod. I'm just going to move these and see what it looks like. Nope, too far in. Oh my lord. I saw my life flash before my eyes. Death by plinth. Yeah, that'll do there for now. Gonna need to clad this little bit here, aren't I? This bit. Also, I'm looking at the back corner of the workbench, overlooking there, and where that's intersecting with the glass cabinet, and then the back corner of the workbench over here, and it's not intersecting at the same point. I'd like to be able to fit my tool cabinet here, which is where it was before. So maybe if I move these in, move that other glass cabinet in a little bit more. I think that looks pretty even. Just need to try and sort out this area here because it doesn't look too good on camera, I don't think. Fix that. Now I believe the spacing of these cabinets is narrower than it was before. So, yeah. Gonna need to chop the ends of these shelves off and relocate the brackets and also reinstall the LED strips as well. Now before I stick the shelves up, I need to work out where I want this sharpening station to go below it. Now I've got some melamine, which is going to be my sharpening station. I think this might be a little bit too deep actually. Might need to rip an edge off that. Right, now I've just got to get this little receiver box fitted to the wall. Oh yeah. Right, so the workbench is gone, and now it's time to fill up the shelves behind me, and I think I'm going to call it there for the day because I've been here for 10 or 11 hours now, and yeah, should probably get going. Right, and there we go. That is most of it in place. It's a shame we don't have the workbench here because it would have made it a nice, it would have completed it nicely. And yeah, sorry, I've got to keep my voice down because it's 9:30 and there's people next door, and it would be a little bit inconsiderate of me if I started shouting. So yeah, it's obviously still looks like a little bit of a clutter at the moment, but I'll be building like cabinets and things to store it all and organising shelving and stuff as we go. So as far as the workshop renovation series, there's not really a whole lot else to do. It's mainly just waiting for machines and stuff to come in here and build various things like the path table and stuff like that. Now, one thing I would like to say at this point is apologies if my uploads are a little bit infrequent at the moment. Still getting into the swing of things at the moment because I'm teaching at Rycottwood Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I'm at Axminster on Saturday and Sunday, which only leaves me Thursday and Friday to actually get in here and do all of my filming and then editing later. I'm struggling for time at the moment, but I'm trying to stay on top of things as best as I can. So uploads may be a little bit infrequent as I'm getting into the swing of things, but I've no doubt once I've got a rhythm going, should be nice and easy. So bear with me. I hope you have enjoyed this series and what is to come. I think I'm going to go home because I'm starting to chat rubbish. See you in the next episode.